Hi there, everybody. It is Sheila Kennedy of the Zebra Inc., and you are here for the next episode of Meet the Author Showcase. I am so excited to be here today with my beautiful friend and colleague, if you will, Dr. Cheryl Cooper. And she has recently released a book called Hood to Hooded. And I would love to welcome her right now, Dr. Cheryl Cooper. How are you?
Hi, Sheila. I am excited and thrilled to be here with you today. Let's just go ahead and get started. I'm just so excited and thrilled to be here.
That's exciting. I know. Cheryl, I am just so touched beyond belief that you have had the courage to share your story in your new book. And it was not something that, you necessarily thought you were going to be writing when we first got together. But it has become something that is just so impactful and so meaningful. Tell us all about, first of all, show us this book. What does it look like? Happy. So it is about to hit the stands, which is so exciting. Um, but Cheryl, tell us a little bit about why you wrote Hood to Hooded.
Sheila, thank you for that question. But when you ask me that, it's just not one reason why I wrote the book. And as you stated, I never thought that I would write a memoir about my life because there's so many things that I have done in my life that I was ashamed of. I didn't want anyone to know about it. I wanted people just to see Dr. Cheryl Cooper. I hid from myself. I was ashamed. And the thought of exposing the things that I had did when I was a teenager, when I was growing up, and sharing it with the world after as far as I've come was scary for me. But I wrote the book because I've gotten to a place in my life where I'm mentoring, I'm helping other women, I'm helping other girls, those girls that are our future mothers and our future women leaders of the world. I wrote this book because as I was coming up, maybe I wouldn't have went through some of the things that I went through. Maybe it wouldn't have been so painful if I had had a mentor. As I'm mentoring currently, I always hear women say, I had to figure it out on my own. I didn't have a mentor. And I said, I don't want these girls to go through what I went through. So I'm reaching back.
Mhm.
I'm being that mentor. I also wrote this book because Sheila, I said, most of the girls that I'm working with that live in the inner city, they don't care that I have a DR in front of my name. They want to know my story. And I felt that it was so important to be a good mentor to them that I was willing to expose everything that I have done in my life to show them I'm not just Dr. Cheryl Cooper. I'm Cheryl that grew up down in the inner city of Kansas City.
Well, you grew up in the hood, right? So that
Yes, in the
that was
hood.
our original story, right?
Yes.
Is growing up in the hood, and that had all kinds of challenges. And you endured and overcame things that were, there are a lot of people that could never imagine you being able to do that. You beat the odds, right? And you have persevered, and your resilience is just, it's inspiring. Um, the things that you have overcome to get to where you are today. And I think that, I mean, there are so many things that we could talk about that um, tell us a little bit about um, the path, the journey, the abbreviated version, the journey of Hood to Hooded. What does that mean exactly?
That journey from hood to hooded is how I grew up in the hood of Kansas City that is notorious for drugs, violence, urban decay. I walked those streets. I lived, I breathed it. And it was only a matter of time that I was either going to wind up in jail or in a grave. And I made a choice. And that's what my book is all about, is that we have choices in our life, no matter where we are, to change the trajectory. And nobody can do that for us. That we have that power to author our story. And we also have the power to define how the things that we did back then will define us today.
Well, and defy you did. You have certainly risen to the top, and it has not been easy. And there have been a lot of challenges. And I think that not only the challenges of inner city life and all that comes with that, but also there is a whole element to your story about being a Black woman in corporate America and what that struggle has been like and what that experience has been like. And I think that it will be incredibly eye-opening for a lot of people, um, because they don't know and they don't understand. And because I think that as you very poignantly pointed out in the throughout the book, is that you had to appear so that, like, there was, everything was always polished and perfect, and you did more than everybody else and still didn't get the promotions and things like that. So I think this book is, your journey to hooded, even getting the PhD, was not the thing that really set you apart. And it still took a couple of years, probably more than
Absolutely, Sheila.
before
You're
you
right.
got the recognition and the promotion and all of that, for that to come to life. So I think that it's not just about being an inner city kid that's gone on to do great things. There's a whole element to this book that is about, hey y'all, we are, you were definitely one of those marginalized kids who had to struggle and fight, and there was nobody to help you, and there was nobody to instruct you or mentor you, the kind of thing. And that is why what's happening now is so important to you. Um, and the things that you've done as a result are amazing.
Absolutely right, Sheila. The book is not just about my journey from the hood to becoming Dr. Cooper, but when I went into the military, becoming a United States Navy veteran, I went on to work in corporate America with some of the most influential Fortune 100 companies. And then I also talk about my journey being a Black woman in corporate America, that intersection of being a woman and then being a Black woman, and how it's different for us, and some of the things that I did to navigate my career.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very eye-opening, and I am confident that there are many people that will read this and go, had no idea. And hopefully, you've also, delivered a call to action in the book
I
and ask
do.
them to, ask the reader to, what can you do? How can we band together? How can we help? Because it's not enough just to read this story and say, oh, wow, that's amazing. There is that call to do something and to make it different and make the reality change. And if we don't get involved, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely, Sheila. We have not completed the full circle of life until we give back. And so that's only one of my calls in the in the book. And Sheila, it doesn't matter where you are in life. You can give back and help someone and impact someone's life.
100%, 100%. And I I think that what I want to ask you next is about you. Um, Tell us about wins. Tell us about the mentoring. What happened that got you to a place where you're like, hey, I've got to give back. I'm looking at these girls and I'm looking at the landscape around me, and it's just not okay. How to tell us about that whole process?
I'd be more than happy to share that. Before I started WINS, WINS, and I put some thought behind that because I said, when we mentor, we will win. I I was working with other associations in the industry, in the cybersecurity industry. I was working with school districts, hosting STEM events. When I approached one of the associations and I talked about, hey, we've got to reach into the inner city because the numbers were telling the story. The numbers were showing us that we had an untapped population in the inner city. And when I asked them, they weren't interested. But I felt so passionate about me. I said, you know what? I'm going to create my own organization and I'm going to get those girls.
And you have done amazing things. I mean, we could talk for an hour about just all of the amazing initiatives that you have taken for the girls in your community and beyond, because you're doing these events in more than just, Kansas City. Um, but the hope and the inspiration and the time and the presence that you're giving to these girls is changing their lives. And I am so excited that you finally have a book to be able to share that with them and say, okay, I've been where you are. There's no
Exactly.
excuse, right? Like, and you've got a mentor that you didn't have, that I never had. So I just think it's wonderful. And Cheryl, if somebody wanted to find out more about WINS, the organization, the mentoring organization that you started, where would be the best place for them to find that information?
www.wins, WINS mentors.org.
Awesome, thank you.
And
Okay,
Sheila,
yeah.
if I could share with you too some feedback when I've been speaking with high school girls, they come up to me and they relate to me. And as I was writing the book, it was scary, talking about my life. But every time I had a little girl come up to me and was inspired about what I said, it confirmed for me I was doing the right thing. In one of the STEM events that I held, I talked about I grew up in the hood. I went to the same schools that you went through. I was among drugs. After that STEM event was over, that girl, 15, 16 years old, came up to me and said, I've got a friend that's on drugs. I've been talking to her and she just won't get off. What can I do? What can I tell her? And she felt confident enough to come up and ask me. And I told her, regardless of the addiction, no one wants to hear you harping on them to quit. But you have to show them that you love them. And sometimes you have to love for them until they can love themselves.
Mhm.
I said, make sure that you're always telling her that you love her and that the only reason why you're saying something is because you care.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is probably going to be pretty typical of feedback that you've gotten in the past few years about what's happening. And when you're telling people your story, adults and these young women, uh, what has the feedback been? You were very hesitant to tell your story. You were afraid that that would disqualify you as being thought of as a professional, as a
Mhm.
PhD, all of the things, right? And yet, as I feel like things have actually blossomed for you since you started telling your story. So tell us a little
Absolutely.
bit about that.
Well, since I've been telling my story, Sheila, for the most part, people have thanked me for my courage because it really did. If you read the book, I'm I'm very, very transparent. But you know what? As long as I'm helping someone, being an impactful to someone, when I wrote this book, it was not about me. It was really, I want to help. I just want to help someone. And I wanted someone to feel like not me as Dr. Cooper, but I'm just here to help you as a mentor, as a sponsor. Come on, girl, get on my back. I got you. Someone to say, I got you, and to take you into the rooms that you've only dreamed of.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so when you're not writing books, what do you do for fun? What do you do?
What
Where
do
do
I
you
do
spend your time?
like I was saying, I'm a business information security officer with one of the biggest Fortune 100 companies, and they have initiatives in place to also give back to the communities. And so I'm heavily involved in that. I'm throwing STEM events in other different cities. So, what do I do in my spare time? Once I get off from work, I am working on the next STEM event, bringing in hundreds of girls to expose them to opportunity. My motto is, and my thought is, you have to physically show the girl opportunity so that she can see herself in the world. We have to, right, Sheila? We have to see the girl in a world in which she's usually unseen. So, what I do is I'm planning, hosting events, exposing them to opportunity, but also gathering other women to come along with me. So, when the girls come in, we see them and they have fun.
That's awesome. Well, and that speaks so much to the needs of all of us, right? Our basic need is to feel
Mhm.
acknowledged, to be seen and to be heard.
Mm.
And you are doing that 100 girls at a time, and that is an amazing gift that you're giving them, and that you're spending your free time doing all of this work, and with a smile on your face that never goes away.
Hey, Sheila, I have to share this with you. I'm
Sure.
going to Frisco, Texas next week for a STEM event. We're going to bring in high school girls from the greater Dallas area. We have reached capacity, not only capacity, we have reached fire code capacity. And this morning I sent out an email to the president saying, reserve that cafeteria because we've got overflow. When you said 100, we're talking hundreds of
That's
girls,
awesome.
hundreds of Black, brown girls, Hispanics, African American,
Yeah.
Latina X girls, and we just have an all day program for them. We're going to spoil them, and we hope when they leave that we've been impactful. That's the whole goal of this book.
There's no doubt about that. Impactful you will be. Okay, so your your energy and your light is captivating, and I am confident that your readers are going to want to be able to connect with you. What is the best way for them to do
For
that? To connect with you, if they wanted to talk to you or learn more about you, what are the best ways for them to do it? Social
one
media,
of the,
email, like
oh,
how do you want them
yes,
to get a hold of you?
hit me up on Facebook at
Okay.
Cheryl Cooper. Hit me up on LinkedIn at Dr. Cheryl Cooper. Hit me up on my personal website at www.drcherylcooper.com.
Nice. I love it. All right. Okay, I have one question left, really, that is a little bit about, so I have a platform that, as the founder of the Zebra Inc., that we talk about stripes of power. And that for me is when we make a choice, when we make a decision in life that shows our courage. and that we become empowered by whatever that decision may be. Sometimes my stripes of power is that I got up in the morning and didn't stay in bed. But can you share a stripe of power moment for us today in your life?
My stripe of power for me was when I made the decision to enlist in the United States Navy. I was on the streets. I was doing drugs. If you look at me now, my face is a little chubby, but back then my cheeks were hollow because was not eating well. And to make that decision and say, I know I can do better, that took a lot of courage to walk off the streets, to walk away from my man at that time and enlist and do something better. And it wasn't easy just enlisting. I would walk every day and I would talk to God. I would just walk and talk because I wanted it so much. I didn't want to go back on the streets. And that was my power stripe.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure which one you were going to talk about because you have so many. I figured that was going to be the one, but I wasn't sure. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Cooper. What else? You you have the floor. Are there any parting words? Is there anything that you want your readers to know or think about before we conclude our interview today?
I may have already said it, Sheila, but what I really want to stress to our readers is that we all have those defining moments in our life in which we are forced to decide. In my memoir, I talk about those defining moments from the time I was 5 years old with darker brown skin and kinky hair to the time I went into the military, raped, alcohol, drug addict, to becoming a powerful woman in corporate America. But we decide. That's what I want the reader to take away. We decide. And please read my book. I really do drop a lot of great gems and lessons learned.
Yes, you do. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. I appreciate you being here with us today. Everybody at home and watching, thank you so much for being here. I'm confident that you were as inspired by Dr. Cooper as I have been. Please, you can find her book on Amazon. It will be in all three versions. So she'll have a Kindle version, a paperback, and a hardback version. So please be sure to go and visit there. And you can always go to thezebrainc.com and you can find out more there. I'm so thrilled that you were here with us today, Cheryl. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best. And we are looking forward to what comes next for you.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much.